Alright, the world is absolutely brutal. Nobody goes unbashed, and at some point or another, insecurity will find you. It's just simply part of being human. Everybody's got them, no one is safe from them, blah blah blah. We know what they are. They can be from lack of something, whether that may be a skill or attribute, feel of failure, that's a pretty large one. But for the grand majority of people, it always comes down to self image. Whether that has come from the influence of others, parents, yourself, whatever. Many people today feel ugly. They do not like themselves. They do not have a good relationship with the person in the mirror. I can say for one that I was one of those individuals, and still, in many ways, am one of those people. Now, don't get short-tempered with me. I'm gonna get to the gist. This isn't gonna be me complaining the entire time about my experiences. It's just a short segment. But yeah, growing up, I've always been the skinniest and shortest kid pretty much everywhere in all my classes, which I wasn't really self-conscious about until I started hitting the bigger grades. And it became a lot more notable and clear to me as people began to look like giants when standing next to me. Uh, but a lot of people's jokes went over my head until again it really started to weave a larger insecurity. At school, especially after the fourth grade, fifth grade, going on so forth, entering middle school, that insecurity was really setting in. Everybody was hitting the growth spurts, but me. Everyone was growing taller, having deeper voices. I saw the girls begin to ghoul over some of the guys a little more. But then there was me. I wasn't getting that kind of attention, of course. Everyone wanted the taller, stronger guy. Not me. That's the way I thought. That's the way it was always pushed by the media, TV shows, movies. Always the guy has to be taller. And so that upset me. It would anger me inside when people would measure my wrist like that, that stuff. It pissed me off when people wouldn't take me seriously and figuratively look down on me because I always thought that since I'm short, the first impression I always gave everyone was that I'm small, that I'm weak, I'm fragile. But it was these small things in my head. I was, of course, though, constantly the last guy to be picked on to play sports. The girls would usually tell me that I would be a good boyfriend if only I was taller, which stung a lot. Back then, I never won an arm wrestle, bro. Even the girls beat me. It was just that bad. It was completely awful. I was voted the shortest guy in my middle school. Just, man, people can be so low. But the worst part about it was the shame I felt radiate from my mother. She would constantly tell me about how ashamed she was to have a son who looked as weak and pathetic as I did. She would yell at me to eat more food than I was able to handle, and while eating, she would always yell at me about how slow I ate, the small bites it took, how long it took me to swallow a piece of something. But yeah, there was a lot more comments, but I'm not going to get into it. The point is that I did leave the dinner table crying a lot. So not only did it make me have a bad relationship with food, but it really shattered my confidence as a male. And so all these things together, they made me feel unworthy of being seen as attractive. It made me feel I could never pull a girl. I wasn't worthy of being loved. That I could never truly be a man. Just everything in society and people pointed out to me that I'm ugly for being short. That I'm not lovable for having this attribute. I was just in this deep pit. I remember that it was really bad that just walking past any mirrors, I would keep my head down to avoid seeing my reflection because I was just so ashamed when I saw me. I was just so upset with myself. And as my acne grew worse, my confidence grew weaker. I just hated myself. I was ashamed of being who I was, and I felt alone in this. So of course I had to drag myself out. No one was coming to save me. Not my own mother, not someone else. It simply had to be me. I was tired of being short and skinny, but I couldn't decide to stop being short, but I could definitely change being skinny. So I said enough was enough, and I took this picture. Then just a few short months later, nothing changed. I gave up. There was no point that I felt. I grew comfortable was staying in the same state. I wasn't happy, and that was the poison. That was my mistake right there that I wish I realized sooner. And I want you to realize right now so you don't make the same screw up that I did. You need to face and examine your weaknesses, and accept them as you're now. You need to learn to accept that these things are in a state of change. So in turn, I may be fat, I have a few pounds to drop, to I'm gonna drop it. Or I may be horrible at math, but with some practice I can get better. I may be nothing at the moment, but with a few changes, a few adjustments, just a little bit of hard work, I won't be nothing forever. So to start making change, you need to be real with yourself and really hardcore and honest. The same way we mentioned in the first video with the book from David Goggins. You need to be harsh and list the negative things about yourself. Fix what can be fixed. Observe that. And after that, you just need to accept that you're in your beginning right now. That this is just a small part of your story. And that there's yet an entire arc to be explored. That you can change for the better. So you need to focus on things that you can change. The same obvious thing that every motivational speech contains. But it's a true, basic, and important lesson that everybody tends to miss. If you only look at the negativity, let the feelings take over, begin to accept defeat, feel hopeless and depressed, it's not going to make anything better, of course. What good is that going to serve anything? Nobody ever really went out and truly won while maintaining this victim mindset. So you have to kill those self-limiting beliefs and make them your motivation. I used to watch and read articles about how women simply don't like guys my height. Those videos with the girls always rejecting the guys because of this and that. I always watch that to, just make myself feel worse. I don't know. But it wasn't until recently that I realized some girls were interested in me. It was just always me ignoring these signs and feeling that what I thought was fixated, that it was right. When in reality, I was just scared of rejection. I was thinking that those compliments were given out of pity, giving in to my insecurities. So you need to stop listening to your complaints and self-limitations. You can start by, with your skincare routine, working out, eating the right things, focusing on building up your confidence, focusing on leveling up these points in your life so that they will outshine these unfavorable attributes. So if I'm short, I can work on making more money, upgrading my abilities, my skill set. Use it as a stepping stool. Make sure that I can become a leader despite everyone, so they look up to me. Make sure that I have a woman no one else can have, someone who is worthy of my love, who appreciates me, and truly wants me despite my disadvantage. Those things will build up and advance you. Don't let those small things you can't change define you. Don't let it make you weak. Use it to make you stronger. Instead, conquer them, embrace them, brand it as being you. Make it yours and dominate it. Learn to express those things and use it to propel you forward. Use it as your fuel. I, for one, am so happy. I'm grateful that I grew up the skinniest and smallest. I'm grateful that I went through what I went through. Glad I started somewhere low. I'm happy for all these experiences. Those comments, the emotional pain I suffocated in for so long. I'm grateful that it all happened, because if it weren't for those things, I probably would not have gotten to the lengths I've had to make my story better. It just brings more meaning to my journey. So I embrace it. I use it to my advantage. And when I can, I use it in small talk to get a giggle out of a few people. I don't get offended. Some of the most joyous memories I had this year was, started off from playful teases because of my height. I made friends out of it. I felt it made us bond. And I'm glad I have that tool in my arsenal.
Wait, but Gino, you're just saying that because you're short.
I mean, it was tough, of course, growing up before when people would make fun of me to hurt me. It was hard having to ask help sometimes to reach something. I mean, it's hard being shorter than freaking Olaf. It's difficult, but me and you have to realize that being negative about these sort of things, over the things that we can't change, brings no value to us. So we gotta, of course, flip it the other way around. I get it's a tall order, changing yourself and changing your mindset, but it's just as hard staying in the same place. The same way it's hard trying to be rich. But it's also hard to be broke too, right? So you have to pick your side. So remember, every day is grind day. All right, see you later.